Hey all, Brendan here, aka Cliff Jumper. Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you a real quick do-it-yourself how-to video. If you've got a VR6 Corrado or an early VR6 GTI, this will show you how to change the chip in the ECU so you can change your software at home without having to go to a shop. One thing I have not seen on the internet in a while is a video showing you how to change the chip in an OBD1 VR6 car. This is from my 93 VR6 Corrado. It happens to be a distributor VR6, not a coil pack, but the procedure is exactly the same between the coil pack or the distributor, so you can do this for either. So I'm going to show you real quick how to take it apart and how to change the chip. So let's say you happen to have some C2 software, which is the chip that's in here right now, and you're going to change it for Auto Authority, which I've got one of those. So just for demonstration purposes, showing you how to do it. First of all, you want to make sure that you are, you've gotten rid of any ground charges that you may have in your body, and discharge anything. I'm wearing gloves to avoid static electricity accidentally zapping the ECU or any of the electronics in it. These bolts on the outside corner, there are 4 of them, and they are very small Torx bolts. I think they're like T15 size. I may be wrong on that. They may even be smaller than that. They may be T10s, but it is an itty bitty little Torx bolt. So you just want to remove the 4 of those. Some ECUs may actually have Phillips head screwdrivers in these, or Phillips head screws in these corners instead of Torx screws. So FYI, but you may want to have the Torx driver on hand just in case yours is one with the wonderful Torx screw. Once those are out, there's probably going to be a little bit of adhesive that is keeping this sealed, and a little bit of pressure and you can wiggle it out. Now you can use a spudger or a flathead screwdriver to separate it carefully along the edges. Just don't go really hog wild because the circuit board is pretty close at hand in there. So, and you can't really tell until you open it which side the circuit board is on. If you want to be really safe, you can go from the edges here and work in your screwdriver or spudger and separate it, but it should separate fairly easily. And it just slides out. Set that aside. Here is the chip that you are worried about right there. And you can use a plastic spudger to separate it. What I have here is the C2 chip, and you'll notice it's sitting on top of its own assembly. There's like a spacer. It sits on top of a chip on top of a chip. That's not standard procedure for most tuners. Most of them for these OBD1 things do not have a decryption setup, but C2 does, and there are a couple of other software companies that use this encryption setup, kind of like a sandwich. The Auto Authority chip that we are putting in does not have that. So what we're going to do is very gently put our spudger in and very gently leverage it from both sides. I'm going to use the small side on this spudger here to just lift it just a little bit until it can come up straight, and there we go, it's released. So we'll set that aside. I happen to have my old Auto Authority chip set aside in here. You may see this when you open up your factory ECU if it has never been monkeyed with. And this is a cover that goes on top of the factory chip setting in there. So since we're putting in, this is an Autotech Q chip for the distributor VR6. It is actually Auto Authority software that Autotech rebrands and sells as their own. I found this out by looking at it on an EPROM reader, but it is it's great software. So one of the things you want to notice is it's got a little notch at one end of the chip, not the other end. The notch end has to go toward the notch end of where it sits on the board. If you put it in backwards, it will not work. So then you very carefully align these little fingers so that they go into the holes. You got to do it in such a manner that both sides are lined up simultaneously. So you can just very gently get it started, like so. Once you verify visually that they are all in their nice little holes there, then press it down so it sits. And if you want it to be really secure, you can put this protective clip back on. It just stretches a little bit, snaps in place. Voila, we have installed our chip, and it is going to live there happily. Now we're going to go ahead and put it back into its home. When it is in the car, it's going to be oriented like this. So I would like to be able to look into it and see the Auto Authority label that I stuck on my case, know which software I've got in here. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that it is that way. Slide it back in. If you want to go for extra credit, you can add some new sealant there, but it's not incredibly necessary. And voila, we have our ECU all back together, chip swapped, ready to go. And you can pop it into your car, be good to go, and probably saved you $100 labor at your local shop. Of course, if your shop is nice to you, they probably wouldn't charge you for such an easy thing, especially if they sold you the chip. But if you bought your chip online, you can install it at home. Hope that helped. Go drive fast.
And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back.